Where you going? Okay. You'll bring some sugar. Trying to think it's anything. And we need some trash bags. Yes. Girl, and I'm live, honey. Talking about some sugar and trash bags. Great morning, you guys. Come on in. Come on in. I'm getting ready to share. Let me share. All right. Let me share. Let me share. Hey, 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 you guys. Let me know who's here and where you're tuning in from. Who's here and where you are tuning in from. Let me pull this on up. Pull it up, pull it up, pull it up. Hey, hey, hey. Y'all come on in, come on in. All right. Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Listen, I'm multitasking. I need y'all to just stay with me, okay? I'm doing breakfast and doing this live because we got to start at 9:30. I got to get to cooking. Okay. So, listen. Let me get my little stuff, y'all. Hold on. We're having shrimp and grits this morning. So I got my shrimp thawing out, getting ready to make my coffee because I need some coffee. Hey, Shannon, good morning. Good morning. Listen, we were up late last night. I said I was going to bed early. I did not make it. It still was about 12 o'clock. Hey, Alita, how are you, gorgeous? So listen, it is what it is, honey. We're doing the Healing Daddy Wounds retreat. Yeah, we're doing the Healing Daddy Wounds retreat. And yes, honey. Yes, and it's going down. It's going down. Yes. Okay, Shannon. Hey, Aretha, how are you, beautiful? What's up, woman of God? So, we're doing Daddy Wounds retreat. This is day 2. It's been amazing. It absolutely has been amazing. Um, My dad was here. Well, he's here. Good. My dad is here, and yesterday he did his segment of the retreat. It was incredible, um, and really gave new perspective. It gave very much a male perspective, a father's perspective when you're on the other side of the disappointment, right? When you're the one who feels like the disappointment or has been told that they're a disappointment, like that part of it, right? And so he really just talked about his life and his journey. Thank you. Me too. It's been interesting because, sometimes when you're on your journey, I think one of the greatest challenges is when you can do things for others that you seemingly can't do for your own. Like that becomes a challenge. Hey, Jessica. Good morning, Mike. And you know, my dad, his journey is one that has been interesting and challenging and all of those things. I'm simply grateful that he's here. Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, that's good. So I decided to try a new creamer, Hershey's chocolate caramel. Honey, I said, listen, that sounds like me. Now let me go on and get this creamer. So, his journey has been challenging. And what I love so much about my dad is that, you know, he pushes through. He's resilient. And I think that that's well between him and my mom, because both of them really are resilient. But he shared his story yesterday, and people looking at him wouldn't think that his story is his story, but it's his story. And he learned how to simply be functional, how to function in the midst of everything that was going on. And it's one of the reasons that I want to talk about this recipe that God is giving us. Listen, I know you want everybody else to give you the secret recipe. You want everybody else to tell you what to do. But the reality is, God is giving you the recipe for others. And he's giving you the recipe for others because Somebody got to get the recipe. And every recipe is not going to work for everybody. Everybody doesn't like things the same. I'm a sugar and grits person. Everybody don't like sugar and grits, but there are people who love sugar and grits, and they will tell you grits, sugar belongs in grits, right? Other people say no, salt and pepper. Regardless of how you like it, the way you like it is the way you like it. What you need for your taste bud, for your palate, is what you need. And everybody's recipe is not going to be the one that you like, but God will give you the recipe that you need for your life, and the recipe that's going to bless some other people. So your recipe is not just for you, it's for the people who are like you, who are looking for the recipe and they've not been able to find it. Some people are the cooks, and some people are the people who eat the cooking. Some people are the chefs that come up with the recipe, and other people are the ones that follow the recipe book. But whichever one you find yourself being, I think we operate in both, right? We operate in both. So it's important to just understand that God is doing a work. God is doing a work. And in the work that he's doing is designed not just for you, but also to help other people. So here we go. Y'all, hold on. Y'all just listen to me now. As God is doing this thing called life, as he is taking us on this journey, we've got to be open to the recipe that he gives us. Now, the thing about God is this: the recipe that he gives us may not work for everyone, and everyone may not like it, but it doesn't change the fact that it's the recipe that he has given us. Y'all, I love this kitchen. Hold on. Y'all bear with me. I got to do a little dishwashing. Y'all know we country, honey. We're going to hang the bag up. Catch the quick trash, okay? But there is some things that God is trying to do and get into our hands that requires us to look at things differently, see things differently, navigate things differently, and to do it knowing that at the end of the day, the person that's in control is God. I didn't know how this was going to turn out. Like, I was really nervous about it. And those people who are close to me will tell you my nerves was bad, honey. I was like, what in the world? But God knew what he was doing. And what he was doing was developing the recipe. Now, the fact that we don't always like the recipe, the fact that we're not always clear on the recipe, that's a very real thing. But it doesn't change the fact that he's trying to give us a recipe. So if you're looking at your life and your journey, I need you to understand that this thing is not just about you. It's not just about your family. It's not just about what you're going through. It's about helping someone else be in a position for them to navigate some things that they don't quite know how to navigate. And maybe they don't quite know how to hear God. And maybe they're unsure if they can be the one to do it. But if one person does it, it is able to be done. And that is the beauty of this thing we call life. As you look at other people and you look at their success stories, it lets you know that it can be done. But the question is, in it being done, will you allow God to use you? Will you allow him to use you, use your life, use your struggles, use your challenges? Will you allow him to use you? Or are you that person that wants to wait and let everybody else figure it out first, and then after everybody else figures it out, you try to just use their recipe? Y'all know somebody I was washing dishes. I don't know. I don't know. Everybody has to make their own choices in this journey, but choose to be the one to be the risk taker. I believe this. I believe that in God's infinite wisdom, in the plan that he has for my life, if I just simply share, just share what God has shown me, what God has taught me, if I just share that, if that's all I do, it blesses one person, it helps one person to get through something that they're going through, then I've done my job. It's interesting because in my sharing about my dad and my journey of, finding my other dad and discovering that the dad who raised me was not my biological father, one of the things that happened is one of my friends, one of my close friends, ended up discovering the same thing, except her dad showed up on Ancestry DNA. Like, it showed up. Parent-child relationship. And she's like, what? Because she didn't know. And he didn't know. So what if I never shared my journey? What if I never shared what happened to me? What if I never shared my process? And she probably really would have been freaked out by what was going on. God is giving the recipe. He's giving you the recipe. He's giving me the recipe. And as we get our recipe, it is on us to be open when that is our assignment to sharing that recipe with other people. When I think about the prophetic, um, you hear a lot of people talk about things in the prophetic and how to tap into your prophetic and all of this. Well, the recipe he gave me is a little different from other people, because I think sometimes people have made it so complicated, and God doesn't make it complicated with me, and He didn't make it complicated, and He taught me how to operate my gift. He taught me how to navigate the water, and it wasn't always easy, and sometimes it was challenging. So what I teach other people is you've got to find your flow. Your flow may not look like anybody else's flow. Nobody else might not do it like you do it, and that's okay. You don't have to do it exactly the same. The key is you got to do what it is God has called you to do. That's your recipe. Find your recipe for hearing God. You might not hear God like I hear God. He might not talk to you like he talks to me, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't talk to you. But you got to figure that out. The problem is we want to just follow a recipe without adding our own spin on it, our own flavor, our own swag, our own unique thing. But each of us is different. Look throughout the Bible. You see all of these different prophets, and they did not move the same way. They did not have the same assignment. But you know what happened is the ones that went, like they just knew, okay, this is what God is saying. So I gotta say this, or this is what the Lord said. Samuel. Samuel was a child, and yet God called him as a prophet. And so here he is hearing a voice calling his name, and he's like, okay, well, I don't know exactly what's going on, but look, I'm gonna go with it. And then the man of God told him, he said, listen, the next time you hear the voice, say, here am I, Lord, right? And so that started a journey for him, a journey that would require him to say something to a man that he loved and respected that was hard for him, yet he had to do it. Rotate back to the fridge and the stove. The stove takes a second to light. So you, on your journey, as you're doing what God has called you to do, as you're navigating the waters of life, know that you are a type and a kind, that God is trying to use you as an example, a model, trying to establish you as someone who he can trust, someone that he can trust with life, with this journey, because the journey is not easy, but it's necessary. The journey is not easy, but somebody's got to take it. The journey is not easy, but if not you, who? If not now, when? So when I put together this retreat, as my nerves were bad, I'm trying to figure it out, trying to make sure that I was doing what my daddy would have me do. And when I say my daddy, I mean my daddy God. I realized that much of my life has been spent and will continue to be spent being the recipe person, the person that God lays out a recipe that, not knowing all the answers, not knowing how it's going to happen, not knowing this, not knowing that, but knowing that I hear the voice of my Father, and just being willing to go when He says go and do when He says do, and that it's okay, that it's okay for me not to know all the answers, but trust Him with the answers. It's okay. And if you're like me, you probably don't like that. Probably don't like having to just trust God. Probably don't like not knowing the ins, the outs of it. Probably don't like not being clear or not being able to control the process or any of those things. But when God is doing what He's doing, you can't afford to not allow Him to just be God. You got to let Him just be God. You got to let Him just do what He does. You got to let Him do it the way He does it, because there's no other way for Him to do it. He just needs some willing vessels, some people who are willing to receive the recipe that may cost them some stuff, but it's necessary. Some people who will allow Him to guide and to direct, to get them to that place of the promise. Some people who, trust Him enough to um, go through the murky places, that trust Him enough to um, be willing to endure the process, to trust Him enough to just take the journey. This was challenging. Okay. Let me say this. This was challenging. And I'm going to talk to y'all about why. This was challenging for a number of reasons, but in particular because, you know, want to like know everything in advance. I want to, be able to say, okay, this is what's going to happen. I want to be able to do that. But that's not what God had for me with this. God said, listen, I need you to go. Just go. Will you go when you don't know? Will you go when you don't understand? Will you go when you're not sure? Will you go when you're not clear? And will you go trusting me? Trusting me to work out the details, the logistics, trusting me. So I've just had to trust God with some stuff that I would rather not have to trust God with. I would rather know. I'm just talking about me. And y'all may not be like this, but I'm just talking about me. Will you trust God with it all? And so that's what I've had to do. Is just trust Him with it all. Trust Him to make it work. Trust Him so that it wasn't about me and what I could do. It's about my daddy and what He's doing. And what He's doing is amazing and wonderful. And when I watch generations on the line, watch generations come together, watch generations talking about their lived experiences as women, their relationships with men, and their relationships with their fathers. As I listen to people share stories that they didn't know were more common than they thought, to hear that somebody else went through what they went through, that somebody else had to deal with that that they were not alone. And when you discover that you're not alone, you're not the only one, then it begins to kind of make a little more sense. And then maybe you're more open to the fact that your journey is not just yours, and it's not just about you, but it's about you gaining that experience so that you can share it with someone else, so you can tell them how you got through. Not that this is exactly what you've got to do, but that this is how I got through. Now, it may work for you and it may not, but this is what I did, and this is how I navigated it, and this is how it happened for me. And, as you begin to do that and you begin to see God moving in the lives of other people, just because you shared what He did for you, like, it is awe-inspiring and it is humbling. And you understand that what God is doing is bigger than you. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than your family. See, I'm real clear that while my family is on a healing journey, and it's not just a me journey, it's a family journey. While my family is on a healing journey, that there are other families who need to be on a healing journey. Now, whether or not they make the decision to take the journey or not is up to them. But I know that I can at least share, what I did, what I went through, how we navigated it. It may not work for everybody, but it may work for somebody. And so when I do that, it empowers people to be able to take their journey knowing you're not alone. You're not alone, you guys. You're not the only one that's had a bad relationship with your dad. You're not the only one who has felt like you weren't enough. You're not the only one. You're not the only one that wanted things to go one way in your life, but they went another. You're not the only one. And the sooner we recognize that we're not the only one, the sooner that we'll be able to accept that the journey that we're on is for a greater good. It's for a greater good. And when you understand that, then it makes things a little different, a little easier for you to navigate, for you to walk out, for you to experience and not experience as a punishment. Because I do believe this. I believe that sometimes we feel like God is just trying to punish us. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one that's ever felt like that. But sometimes I'll be like, God, listen, what did I do? What did I do that was so bad that, I have to go through this? And it's not what I did that was so bad. It was that I just was so obedient. Like God honors our obedience. And we want to know that His honoring our obedience, we want it to be that we don't go through stuff. But the reality is, when you are obedient, then God knows that He can use you. So He uses you in a way that He can't trust everybody to use them. My my grandson signs. My grandson Joseph signs. His parents taught him some sign language early as a way of communicating. So he's not as verbal, right? He doesn't talk as much. He does a lot of signing. And I want y'all to hear me now. Now, to some, it may seem like something is wrong with him because he's not saying all of the words that kids his age are saying at his age, right? But I'm a firm believer that if God has that boy signing, there's a reason. And you don't know that there's a reason until the reason shows up. You don't know whose life that young man is going to impact, who he's called to, that is going to need someone who can sign. So already, my baby is bilingual. He speaks English and he signs. And it is that bilingual nature that's going to set him apart. Well, he's already set apart because, that's my little mixed snickerdoodle, right? But his signing will further set him apart. And we don't always get it in the moment. We don't always understand in the moment. We don't always like it in the moment. But it doesn't change the fact that there's a plan that God has for his life, and his signing is a part of it. I just believe that. I felt that with everything in me. So as I was talking to my son, I said, baby, listen, I don't know what God is doing with him, but God is doing something. And it's going to be wonderful to behold. See, but we want to be like everybody else. That's our mission, to be like everybody else when God is calling us to be different, to be set apart. But we don't like that. It doesn't fit with our notion, our idea. But it's what God is doing. God is creating and raising up a people who are not afraid to be different, who are not afraid to look different, to move different, who are not afraid to not look like church, but instead look like kingdom. God is raising up some people who are willing to take a journey that God has specifically prescribed for them. It is their prescription. It's not everybody's prescription, but it's theirs. And God is saying, listen, will you go? Will you be? Will you do? And we're saying, can I just be like, no, you can't. because I got more for you. I've got more that I need you to do. I got more that I need you to experience. So you're sitting up saying, why me, God? Why me? Instead of understanding that you are in a very privileged position. You're in the position where God has said, listen, I'm going to use you as a type. You know, Jesus was a type, right? How when you look at the stories throughout the Bible, there are types that show up. They are a foreshadowing of things to come. They're an example of what's going to come and how to navigate it. When you look at Hosea, Hosea was a type of Christ, right? He was a type of Christ, right? He was a model of Christ. So Hosea had to marry a hoe, knowing she was a hoe, everybody knowing that she was a hoe. And in her hoeing had all these children, and none of the children belonged to Hosea. And yet Hosea was charged with not only loving that woman, but loving the children that were produced by other men. I want y'all to catch this. Loving the children that were produced by other men. And not only loving them, but raising them and naming them. He had to name the children that were produced by other men's seed. He had to name them. He named them. He gave them their names. So here he was, being a father to children that were not from his loin, married to a woman who was not really his woman. She was his wife, but she belonged to others. Knowing that, having to go buy her back after she done been out hoeing, and then somebody done sold her, put her on the auction block, selling her to the highest bidder. Hosea had to go spend his money to purchase a woman that already was supposed to belong to him. He was a type of Christ, providing the example of what it meant to love unconditionally, what it meant to love people that didn't deserve your love. So we're on our journeys. We're on our journeys. We're navigating our journeys and trying to figure out, God, what is it that is supposed to happen for me in this? God, how am I supposed to navigate this? God, can you just help me? Because I don't like the way this looks. I don't like the way it feels. And God is saying, will you go? Will you do? Will you be? Will you be the one that serves as a type to show the people who I am? Will you be the one who lets me show you the recipe? I know you don't know the measurements, but can I teach you and you write down the measurements? Will you be the one that deals with the tough stuff in your family to come out on the other side so that people will know that I'm a healer and a restorer and I'm the God of reconciliation and I've given you a ministry of reconciliation? How do we think we're going to serve God and not do reconciliation? How do we think we're going to serve God and not be willing to take this journey? God is a God who orders our steps, but how do we think he's going to order our steps and we won't move? We want everything like we want it, when we want it. That's what we want. And then we're surprised when God gets tired. And he says, how long must I suffer you? I don't know what other people see when they see Jesus, but I'm going to tell you, Jesus, like, he was no joke. And one of the things that I absolutely love about my Savior is that he was honest with the people in his circle. He told them, listen, oh, ye of little faith. You thinking I'm gonna let y'all drown, you know what I'm saying? And I'm on the boat too. Why would I do that? You just saw me feed all them people. And you think I'm just gonna let you drown. Why would I do that? That don't even make sense, right? But little do we know that God, in his infinite wisdom, has chosen us, selected us to be a type of Christ in the earth. So that those people who may not ever read the Bible would have an opportunity to experience Christ, an opportunity to experience his love, his grace, his mercy, would have an opportunity to navigate this journey called life, knowing that they're not navigating it alone. I think that's the thing that probably surprises me the most sometimes, and I don't know why it continues to surprise me. But when I share things that I've gone through and people are like, oh my God, I went through the same thing. I thought it was just me. It's not just us. There's something that God is doing that's bigger than us. And he's just looking for some people who will be a type for him. Will you be a type for him? Will you allow him to use you? Will you be willing to be the one that the recipe is based on? I haven't gotten everything right, and I don't claim to. But what I have done is my best with the life that I've been given. What I have done is learn to just obey the master. That's what I have done. Now, if you want to know how to do that, I can tell you how I've done that, right? I don't know that my way is, and I know for a fact it's not the only way, but I know that it's the way that God gave me. I know that what God deposited in me, I won't let it go to waste. I know that God has been very deliberate and strategic with my life. I know that I'm just willing to make the mistakes and to share them. It's easy to share your successes, but people learn most probably from your mistakes, the things that you did that didn't work, the things that you tried that didn't pan out so well. So rather than just give you all the good, I'm gonna give you the other stuff too. Because it takes both for us to really get to the place of promise. It takes the getting right and the getting wrong. So when people say, how can you tell me about how to have a successful marriage when you've been married and divorced 5 times? I can tell you everything I tried that didn't work. I can share with you the things that I had to learn about me and the things that I had to change about me. I can tell you the things that if I had known this sooner, probably would have helped me. I can share with you the things that I know that were working, that work, that were good. One thing I can say is just about all of my husbands would have me back. And that means I didn't do everything wrong, right? So I just know that this thing called life is bigger than us. And when we understand that, then that will help us to navigate being the recipe even better. But we got to be willing. They almost there. They not quite there. They not quite there, y'all. They almost there though. Life is not easy, but it's necessary. And it's necessary that somebody be willing to be the example. The question is, will it be you? As a prophet, I've learned to say what God says, not to say what he says not to say, even if he says it to me, and how to know the difference. I encourage you guys. I encourage you guys to yeah. I encourage you guys to trust God with your process. Be willing to be the recipe and let God take care of the rest of it. Listen, today's day 2, our last day of the retreat, and I'm so excited. Yesterday was amazing. We had great success. And I'm excited about this recipe that God is giving me for healing daddy wounds. It allows me to take my personal experience, all the things that I've read, and the experiences of others, bring it together to create a recipe book for healing. Now, you might have to tweak your recipe, but the recipe still remains pretty much the same. Look, I love you guys. And my prayer is that you will allow God to use you the way he desires to use you. Listen, if this word blessed you and you desire to be a blessing to me, you can drop Cash App at $DRV Walters, Cash App $DRV Walters, or PayPal.me/DRV Walters. My prayer for you is this, that you would allow God to use your life to create a recipe that others can use and follow and modify to make it suit them, their taste, their process, their journey, so that God can get the glory. Remember, it's about kingdom and kingdom building. Let's build the kingdom. Look, I love you guys to life and life more abundant. Remember, August 1st, we start Forward Focus 21. August 1st, we start Forward Focus 21, 21-day fast. Listen, let's get this 21-day fast going. Honey, I'm excited about it. If you don't have the book, put book in the comments. If you want to join us on this 21-day fast, it's going to go from August 1st through August the 21st. So if you want to join us on the fast, join us on the fast. We're off the fast on my birthday. My whole goal with this fast is for me to get clarity as I walk into my birthday, so that I know exactly what it is that God requires of me in this next year of life. 56 is coming, baby, and I am here for it. So you all let me know if you want the book, put book in the comments. If you want to join us on the fast, put fast in the comments. If you want the book and the fast, put it in there. But if you put book in, I'm going to send you the information for the fast as well. So I'm super excited. Y'all, let's have an amazing and incredible day, and let's impact somebody's life. You all listen, the world is waiting for you to show up and show out. Why? God created you to do just that and more. I love you guys to life and life more abundant. I got you, Tanisha. You guys be blessed. Mwah.